I'm interviewing Keenan. Keenan, tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you and where are you from?
Well, my name's Cianan, and I'm from San Diego, and I've moved out here to Los Angeles for college.
Well, I just wanted to know a little bit about yourself before I fully get into the D&D conversation, or also known as Dungeons and Dragons. So, if you don't mind, can you tell me a little bit about what D&D is?
So, Dungeons and Dragons is a tabletop role-playing game. It's been around since the very early 70s. And the concept of tabletop role-playing, generally, is to combine traditional storytelling with pen and paper games, kind of giving it a structure for storytelling in order to flourish and gamify it. Initially, Dungeons and Dragons, I believe, was based off of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit books, and kind of came from a desire to exist within those worlds and explore those worlds, and so people kind of made a game out of it. And because of the fairly easy way to manufacture the game, which is just publishing a book and printouts of paper and stuff, the game was sold and was very popular, and has had a rise, then a fall, and then another recent rise in cultural popularity very recently. Yeah. The fall in the 80s was due to the Satanic Panic. A lot of fear-mongering from local print news media and local television, kind of spread coming from the Christian church and a lot of conservative people groups that were just worried that it was corrupting kids. They used it as a scapegoat and kind of got rid of that. In fact, my dad's family was sort of victim to this. His parents made sure that he and his siblings wouldn't play Dungeons and Dragons, so they would go play it secretly. In fact, he wasn't allowed to play it for very many years, which is kind of how I first found out about the game.
Can you explain if your parents had any worry about you playing it, since your dad's parents were afraid of him playing it at the time?
Actually, my parents bought me the Red Box, which is this very famous Dungeons and Dragons starter kit that they actually recreated around 2015 for 5th edition. That's based off of the one that's from the mid 80s. And it's a very basic starter kit that has the intro to the rules. Everything's kind of dumbed down. And I used this to play for a little while. And I would take the actual full-size box and all the papers and dice and everything to school and talk to people about the game, and got really excited about it and shared it with people. By the time I was in middle school, I forgot, but I had a birthday where I invited a bunch of people over. I made the character sheets for them, and I DM'd for them. And this was one of the first successful games I had, because it was really hard for me to run games at school because no one knew how the game worked, and I didn't do a lot of writing. I kind of just improvised stuff. But by the end of middle school and then high school and stuff, I had a regular game going. And I actually had a regular game going in a group with a bunch of my friends throughout high school, and we actually played online through quarantine.
Nice.
And we still play now. We're actually setting up a new game.
Do you prefer being a dungeon master or a player?
All I could kind of hope for was to be a dungeon master, because everybody I was talking to had not played the game before. So I had to learn that set of rules and kind of orchestrate it so people could play. And I've always wanted to be a storyteller from a very, very young age. When I figured out that's what I could do, I was always writing stories, making new characters, drawing, making comics, and it led me to pursue other things like improv. But Dungeons & Dragons was an outlet for me to do that.
Are there characters that you create that you resonate with, or ways that they can kind of tell your story as well?
I love creating characters. It's actually my favorite part of the game. It's such a fun way to express myself. I feel very deeply connected to every character that I've made. I still remember my very first character is Demakos Mordai, who is a tiefling rogue, and I played her in 2 different campaigns. And making characters kind of branched out in a way for me to it's a form of gender expression. Before I could really come out, I was playing as a lot of female Dungeons and Dragons characters, because it allowed me to kind of live in that fantasy before I was able to live my life as a woman. And I think that like a lot of people, that's part of like the popularity right now on the internet and stuff, is like a lot of people are finding ways to express themselves. I think it's a very beautiful thing.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Cianan. I think that's all I have for you today. But yeah, thank you.
Go play Dungeons and Dragons.